Hello, my name is Exibo, and this is Unity of Command 2 Barbarossa DLC Heeresgruppe Süd mission on hard. 3, 2, 1. Right, and so we've got one of the first missions, well, at the end of the entire series. So, Heeresgruppe Süd, Army Group South, if you wish in English, it is actually one of the more difficult scenarios if you don't know what you're doing, and if you know what actually happened in this area, in this kind of region, in this kind of theater, if you wish. I should stop saying if you wish. You see that those names, Dubno and Brody, you probably should guess what's gonna happen here. If you don't know, so the Battle of Dubno or Brody is actually one of the biggest tank battles of an entire history. So until the Battle of Kursk and everything, it was certainly the biggest battle, and it's still it's disputed what it is and what it was because the Soviets, because of the nature of that conflict, so many of the documents and everything. So it's still is not properly investigated for various reasons because the Soviets did not want to. Were not particularly interested in researching it because, well, they lost craploads of tanks. It was a very harebrained idea. And for the Germans, actually, the Soviets managed to stop them. And it wasn't too great a victory for the Germans, even though they inflicted lots of losses to the Soviets and everything, but they were stopped. And indeed, the southern parts of the Barbarossa invasion saw the greatest resistance, at least initially. So the Soviets, the Red Army was best prepared and best responding to this German invasion, just as. And by the way, that's one of the things you need to do. So back to the scenarios, the Soviets were the best prepared in the south, so the Germans saw the biggest, the most trouble in there. Anyway, so one of the things that you need to do is to go to Kovel. So as you can see, I cut that railway and took the Soviet supply hub. And another thing is you need to get to Dubno. Well, you need to get to it on turn 2, and you need to do everything. I say everything to get your tanks as close to Dubno as possible. Well, by the end of turn 1. And actually, crossing the river at that place where that Soviet infantry unit with the NKVD step is, I found this to be the best crossing. So it's I think, the best combination of proximity and ease. So I'd say proximity trumps ease, so it's the most important bits, the most important location where you need to cross the river and get as close to Dubno as possible by the end of turn 1. And as you can see, so the whole area around Wutsk and Kovel and Brody, pretty much the Soviets are out of supply there now, and you can already see them getting their little out of supply indicators already. So yeah. So these guys are going to die. These guys are going to die. They're not going to have enough space to retreat. Not going to have anywhere to retreat. So at this point on turn 2, so my goal is to get Dubno. That's required, and Przemysl is mine. And generally, what you will see right now is me trying to get to Dubno and then rush to Rovno, because Rovno tends to be rather well defended. Unlike Dubno, it tends to be well defended, and it's generally a very good idea to get a unit, as I always say, if it's a difficult objective. Oh, by the way, that's attack armored cars. I'm not very eloquent today. Armored cars actually in action. So I didn't have to go into Dubno, but I actually took it because I occupy a lot of hexes around me. So I actually achieved that. So you really need to go to the hex next to Rovne by the end of turn 2. It's not required. Actually, during my classic playthrough, I did not manage to do it, but I got lucky with retreats. But generally, as always, I never tire of mentioning it. If you have a very difficult objective that you need to take next turn or in a couple of turns, make sure you have a unit next to it at the end of the current turn, right? And so this is what I do in Rovne. Also, as you can see, I am pretty aggressive around Lvov. So actually, I will make a tiny little mistake in Przemysl, which will almost cost me a light division, but no matter. You really need to advance in Lwów. The Soviets are not very well positioned in there, and it's critical that the railway that, goes through Lwów is... yeah, eventually becomes yours. You clear that railway because it's critical. As you can see, it goes to Lwów, to Brody, to Dubno, to Rovne. And as you can see, you really need to go past Rovne to Zhytomyr and everything. So you really need to clear that railway as quickly as possible. And I have had a few playthroughs of this mission where I simply couldn't get it in time, and I just stopped. My units in Rovne and past it just stopped. And I didn't have the unit ability or HQ abilities to just supply them. Because the problem is that unless you get that railway, you can't even get any supply hubs any closer to Rovne, etc. Because like the closest supply hubs, the closest location of the supply hub right now is at Zamość, right? So like where the supply hub is right now. So it's the best location. It's the closest location to everything else. So, which means that railway needs to be cleared. It's like, I can't stress it hard enough. And so as the Soviets are gradually moving in, they're taking back Dubno and trying to encircle my guys, but as always, oversupply, like, trumps everything. As oversupply, well, it is great, and you don't have to worry about anything. That tank division will be destroyed. And so the Soviets do some reshuffling. Actually, you see that bunch of Soviet divisions like bundled between Shepetovka and Proskurov, and they will largely stay there. I will not show it in this video, but I actually destroyed them. But that bunch of Soviet divisions in that area, actually they persisted. They stayed alive and bunched up until, well, pretty much I completed the entire mission and took all of the objectives. They still were there and not doing anything. I don't know if it's intentional, if it's something, some weird decision that the AI made. I don't know, or it's something that was designed as part of the scenario. It's not entirely true. It's not entirely clear what they're doing there, but like that's what the AI did, and it's not even trying to do any serious maneuvers there, like trying to encircle me or like deal incredibly serious damage, because they have really huge amounts of troops. Not experienced, but with specialist steps. And I'm guessing, like, had I been controlling those guys, I probably would have been able to get them to veteran power, veteran experience very quickly, and actually make them even stronger. Even though you will see some counterattacks. All right, so in the area between Kovel and Brody, I'm just doing some clearing up, and it's not like super necessary. These guys will run out, but I really want to free up my troops in that area, and I just really want to get rid of all the Soviet leftovers and stragglers. Alright, and so if that's effectively what I'm doing, especially since obviously those mobile troops will be still, even out of supply, they will be somewhat threatening to my supply lines. I really don't want that. And by the way, I'm pretty well on my way towards actually clearing the Lwów railway. As far as I remember, so the deadline for taking Lwów is turn 5. Really, don't wait that long. So you really need. And by the way, those tank divisions are very poorly set up. So no matter what you do with the supply hubs, the Soviet supply hubs, these guys will be out of supply right from the start of the mission. And that's actually the reason they run out of supply and they don't move. I don't know. I suspect it's intentional, so it's intentional that they're set to be passive, to kind of to simulate the Soviet disorganization and not being able to kind of not being able to rally and organize their forces for an attack, for any kind of maneuvers. But also, obviously, to be honest, it's not just command failures. It's also the lack of spare parts, it's lack of fuel, it's lack of all sorts of things not related to combat. Actually, at some point, maybe 10 years ago, well, there was a reason for me. I really wanted to look into all those Soviet multi-turret tanks, which are really cool. And unlike T-35, which was essentially like this this insane parade tank, where you're really not really great for actual combat. T-28 was slightly more sensible, and it took some participating in Winter War and in early stages of the Great Patriotic War, and actually not too early a stage because some of them were still remaining around Leningrad until like 1944. So yeah, so it's not just the early stages. And so, yeah, and I looked into it, and so, like, if you don't know, T-28s were produced until, I think, 1940, so, like, by 1941, they were not being in production anymore, so, obviously, this implies that probably there would be problems with spare parts and everything, but the thing is, I looked into, like, the losses, the kinds of losses that, because most of the T-28s were destroyed in 1941, like, very easily, like, goodbye. Right, like most of the Soviet tanks back then. And the thing is that, like, there were a few, just like 2 or 3 or 4 major units, like brigades or divisions or corps, that were equipped with T-28s, predominantly. And so most of their losses, they would, like, lose 85% of all of their tanks in, like, one month between June and late July, right? But the absolute majority of their losses, like maybe 75 to 90%, was not combat losses. They just left those tanks to the Germans to capture, because, like, it was just okay, it just doesn't work, and we have no spare parts, right? So we didn't have them probably to begin with, or the Germans bombed out the warehouses, whatever. No spare parts, we can't do it. Or, like, it got stuck. We have no trucks or like tractors to get them out. Or we don't have any ammunition, so we had to abandon it. Or it was slightly damaged, we have no infrastructure to actually repair it, and so we had to abandon it. It's just like all that kind of stuff. Most of it wasn't lost to German fire, right? So I think even if it's not intentional, those two Soviet tank divisions, they just sit there and wait. And if you hear that siren, it's, well, outside. Obviously, I'm not going to stop this recording. And so those two divisions, if they just stay there, I don't know if it's intentional, but it's very much an illustration of what the Red Army was like in the initial months of the German invasion. And so the Soviets actually do some like mild counterattacking next to Proskurov, but like still, like this huge bunch, this snowball of Soviet troops is gonna stay there and do nothing. They get entrenched for whatever reason. I don't know. That's a silly idea that the AI had, and actually I didn't see this. I don't remember seeing this, at least on that scale, when I played on Classic. I remember like some Soviet units being there, but not on this scale. Not trying to be this insanely like accumulative. I don't know. They're just coming in and just staying there. Is it a party or something? Anyway, so the Lvov railway is finally cleared. So at this point, I'm just trying to secure it, preventing the Soviets from blocking it. It's critical at this point, so I only have 3 turns to get to Zhytomyr and 4 turns to get Proskurov and road to Kiev. So at this point, yeah, and those objectives are... I'm not super proud of this playthrough. I actually managed it, but it wasn't a very convincing victory. Actually, on Classic, I was able to pretty much wipe the Soviets out off the map pretty much by turn 9, which is the ultimate deadline, even though the mission continues until turn 12, which I obviously used to get some experience for my troops. Obviously, it's the first mission in this theater, and getting as much experience as you can is significant. And as you will see in the subsequent missions, because I haven't, at the time of this recording, I haven't covered Ukraine and Dnieper crossings, losses will become a theme in this theater. So I found that hard, well, gets hard here. It gets hard in this area. Alright, so I'm gradually moving towards Shepetov and Zhytomyr. As you can see, it's largely the mission. In many ways, it's won. But as you can see, that's huge bunch of troops. I obviously didn't see through the entirety of the fog of war, obviously. But I knew that like there were craploads of Soviet troops in that area between Shepardovka and Proskurov, and I was constantly scared. What am I supposed to do here? Are they going to counterattack and block my supply lines? Oh, by the way, that transition was due to a glitch. I don't know why, but the game kept crashing on me at the end of my turn 5. I have no clue why it was. But it keeps crashing. It's something wrong with the save. And same true actually about my playthrough of Ukraine, which I will do, well, the same thing about. So I really don't remember which turn it was. I think it was turn 8 or something. But here it's just the end of turn 5. I don't know what's happening. It just crashes the game, like shows you an error message and nothing else. So yeah. And so I had to do some Premiere Pro magic to actually get it working and get it in a single video file, so that I don't have to switch anything. Right, so I'm quickly and slowly, and as you can see, so my guys around Shepardovka and Zhytomyr, they're advancing very fast. I'm doing well. I'm not gonna have too much trouble dealing with those places. But Proskurov, like, all of my infantry is far, far away. It's like I've got 3 turns left. And I'm trying... I don't know what I'm doing here. This is not great. This is not great. So my units, the bulk of my force, doesn't have too much... It has a lot. It has a lot. It has a lot of strength. But the thing is, they're way too far. I don't know what I'm going to do there. And I was kind of... That's at that point, I actually really remembering, even though this actually happened a couple of weeks ago, I remember being worried that I would not be able to get to Proskurov because, like, I've got just 3 turns left. Actually, for most of these divisions, already 2 turns left. No, there's 3 turns left. 7, 8, 9, right? So it's, they're way too far, and I'm kind of very slow at advancing there. So generally, on Classic, I was able to kind of encircle the area around Lvov, kind of taking Lvov and then kind of encircling it and getting closer to Proskurov at the same time destroying the Soviet troops blocking that railway. But I found that on hard it's very difficult. So on hard you need to use all your troops to actually destroy those blocking troops, right? So my infantry just sat there and, well, destroy the Soviets so that I can get my supplies. And as you can see, the Soviets are fortifying their position, as if it's not fortified enough already. This is slightly insane, but at least in the north, it's slightly more comfortable, even though that road to Kiev can kick you and bite you in the bum, really, because as you can see, there are 2 tank divisions in there, and they can be extremely annoying. They're strong enough. If they, like, thankfully, road to Kiev is just a plain hex. It's not a village, it's not a forest or anything. Like, that's one thing I have to thank the developers for. Because, like, if it were something else, if it were a marsh, that would have been very mean. But it is a plain hex, so it's possible to actually destroy those tanks and, like, tell, like, it's your rare attacks are effective against tanks out in the open. So there's a good chance of actually killing them. But still, if you don't have like 2 or 3 divisions rushing towards Kiev, towards road to Kiev, you might be asking for trouble. Because the Soviets will not wait to protect that hex, to protect that objective, and you can actually get stopped, like, short of 100% completing this mission because of that. I found, like, in my classic playthrough, I actually had a couple of, like, playthroughs, a couple of attempts at this mission where I did not take road to Kiev. And, like, all of the rest of it, like Proskurov and everything, was easy. Like Proskurov, come on, it's turn 9. You just bring all that horde and not worry about anything. But in this, it's slightly different. I found that road to Kiev is doable, but because I knew what to do. So you have to push very, very quickly. Zhytomyr, well, we're not looking at Zhytomyr, we're doing, like, this very recreational thing, so, like, my units get some experience, because obviously these Soviets are gonna disappear in a couple of turns. But Zhytomyr is not crazy. I've seen that that is protected by green units. It's nothing special. So you are very likely to actually send those insane tank divisions, highly experienced veteran and everything against that weak green division. And well, yeah, Zhytomyr is gonna get empty. And as you can see, the Soviets don't have too many troops in the area, so it's very likely, as you can see, that's exactly what happens. The Soviets did not retake Zhytomyr, so I'm not gonna worry about it. And I'm gonna worry about that infantry next to it. I don't know why the AI decided not to move those guys into Zhytomyr, because they really, like, logically they need to do everything to stop me, to slow me down, whatever that means in terms of losses. And here was actually a big mistake I made. So I didn't protect my flank in Shepetovka. And even though I kind of had the troops to do that, had I moved them correctly, so that motorized division that attacked that infantry, Soviet infantry, didn't really have to be there. And so, yeah, well, my tanks were out of supply for a turn, unfortunately. At the same time, I needed someone to protect Zhytomyr, so they were perfect candidates for that. And so, yeah, I'm advancing towards Proskurov. As you can see, I'm kind of doing pretty well. I've got plenty of troops. Well, not plenty, but a not very precarious amount of troops around Proskurov. I'm trying to kind of maybe even strengthen my position even further. Well, probably failing that. So, hoping to actually encircle it from the south. Oh, wait. No, it's kind of actually attacking Proskurov. But actually, that air attack was useful because these guys will not completely recover from their suppression. So next turn, which is always a bonus. So let's see what the Soviets do on the effectively penultimate turn of this mission. So they'll do some counterattacking, and very nasty counterattacking at that. So that was actually not a very intelligent thing to do. So to try to set up some sort of a barrier, because I still was worried. I still was worried that the Soviets would try to counterattack at the least appropriate moment. But they're just sitting there. They've got this bunch of troops, strong troops, and they're just sitting there, not doing anything, which is slightly weird. I don't know what to think of it. And so I have this road to Kiev, and I realized that the Soviets have this crazy, and I got super lucky. This is luck. This is not great playing, and I already mentioned that. I was not happy about it. So I got lucky that the AI made a mistake. The AI made a mistake, rather random mistake, by setting up that supply hub and leaving a weak unit to guard it. And so, fortunately, yeah, I was able to refuel or resupply my tank and get to road to Kiev. That was a mistake. I think it all stems from my mistake in the flank of Shepetovka. Obviously, Proskurov is mine now. So I made that mistake next to Shepetovka when the Soviets managed to block my railway, my supply line, my railway. And so, had it not been that, I would have probably been able to take a road to Kiev more comfortably. And this is it, pretty much. From this point on, I will just do some experience killing and not much else. The Soviets will not be able, even though it's like kind of looks a bit precarious in Proskurov, the Soviets will not be able to kick me out, and I don't think they'll even try. So this is it for today. Tomorrow we'll see the Ukraine mission because, well, yeah, let's do all the remaining scenarios of the DLC, because there aren't too many. All right, so thank you for listening and for watching. Until tomorrow.